Coming up on Locked On NBA Daily, Jonathan Kuminga turned down more money from the Lakers to bet on himself in Minnesota. So, did the Timberwolves just get one of the steals of the offseason? Plus, Kawhi Leonard and Scottie Barnes together in Toronto? How exactly is that going to work? And everybody loves the Jazz's young talent, but did Utah create a pretty big problem for itself this summer? Locked On NBA Daily starts now.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. I'm Wes Goldberg. That's Moore and Haize. We have a great show for you today. The Raptors are still hoping to land Kawhi. The Jazz hope to make a leap into the playoff conversation, but let's start where else? With Jonathan Kuminga. Boys, Jonathan Kuminga agreed to a 2-year, $12.4 million deal with the Timberwolves. Got a player option on that second season. According to his agent, he turned down more money with the Lakers for a chance to start in Minnesota and re-enter free agency next summer. Here's more from Ben Beacon over at Locked On Timberwolves.
The Minnesota Timberwolves have reportedly agreed to sign Jonathan Kuminga to a 2-year, $12 million deal using the mid-level taxpayer exception. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast. And signing Kuminga was the last remaining potential big free agency-related move the Wolves could make. He'll undoubtedly start between Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert, along with Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. But what's the next move? Because now the Wolves would be over the second apron if they don't make another move. Likely, it's going to waive and stretch Josh Green, or perhaps if they can find a trade with him in the next couple of days, they could move him. The Wolves still will have one more roster spot to fill to get to the 14-man roster minimum. So the trickle-down effect, to me, is the most interesting aspect of this. They'll have to sign a player for the vet minimum, something along those lines. But the Kuminga addition, the athleticism he'll bring to the table, the open floor transition attack opportunities they'll have with Ball, Ant, McDaniels, and Kuminga, it's going to be electric on offense for the Timberwolves this season.
Shout out to Ben for pulling over to record that hit there for us. But Matt, does this change how you feel about the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, it does. So, we did the rotation lab on them, and they just don't have any power forwards. They just don't have any. And I hate the idea of Jaden McDaniels having to play power forward. I hate that idea. So just okay, he can play power forward. Cool. So any player with NBA experience is an upgrade at power forward. All right. What did they lose with Nas and Randall? Okay, they lost downhill scoring with Randall. Kuminga's a pretty good downhill force. He's good at north-south attack. And this is a north-south team. This is not a side-to-side team. This is not a drive and kick team. This is very much like a get downhill and attack. And then they will generate a lot of threes off of that, but it's they don't move the ball around the perimeter to generate threes. It's drive, kick, three. So, okay, helps a little bit with that, even though he's a terrible playmaker. All right. You lose rebounding with Nas and Randall. Kuminga's a good rebounder. Okay. So there are, I can understand why the move was made, and I can say it's fine. It's fine. I have very low expectations. I think he's a negative in terms of there was one of the stat sites graded him out as a elite isolation defender. I think that's a lie. I think he is a really bad defender overall. I think he gets beat routinely, but he's got Rudy Gobert behind him. I think it's fine, Haize. I don't have a problem with the signing. I just am very much can we stop acting like Jonathan Kuminga? There should be no new big three in Minnesota posts.
I love that Matt said, yes, they improved, and then went on to list 5 reasons why they didn't and shouldn't be excited about this, because I agree with that. Technically, yeah, they improved because they had a hole at forward. They have a player that can play forward. The problem is that, in transition, it'll be fine. As long as they're in transition, it's going to be fine. In the half court, there's going to be some serious questions in the half court if they're forced to play half court offense. Kuminga has to be on ball. LaMelo is not great off ball. Anthony Edwards can play off ball, even though he's turned into a really good playmaker. So if everybody buys in, then great. But Jonathan Kuminga is going to have to be forced to do there are going to be some things that fit his skill set perfectly well. There are going to be some things that do that. I want to be clear there. But he's going to have to also learn how to play in the way that Steve Kerr had been asking him to do for years anyway, if he really wants to be the most successful. Kuminga took a huge risk here, because if it works out for him, yeah, you can opt out and you can get more money, all that type of stuff. We all know the good side of this. The bad side of this is that if this does not work out for you, that's it. There's no more summers of Jonathan Kuminga hoping to get $20 million. That's it. This team needs a forward that can create downhill pressure, that can do some ball handling, that can do those things. He's not the greatest at playmaking or ball handling, but he can do some of that. If this does not work for Jonathan Kuminga here, this has to be the last summer that we talk about Jonathan Kuminga, please.
33% from three-point range. The spacing is questionable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't necessarily care. I just don't typically care a lot about transition. I just don't think it's valuable, but I think it's such a low bar to be efficient in transition. Like, it's just such a low bar.
And a small part of overall
Offense.
NBA offense. Yeah, I mean, if you rely on transition, then you have a problem, right?
Unless you're playing really good defense. Like, you can rely on if you are excellent defensively and getting in passing lanes, getting most of the defensive rebounds, then yeah, you can live off transition. But if you're not, then yeah, it's not going to be good offense.
And the problem is that this Minnesota team historically was very good defensively. Now with LaMelo and Kuminga, maybe not as much. But yeah. I do find it interesting here that they traded away Julius Randle and then signed a guy at a fraction of Julius Randle's price, whose best case scenario at this point is probably being the next Julius Randle. I think that's Jonathan Kuminga's best case scenario at this point, right? Kuminga would tell you his best case scenario is Kobe Bryant, and that's sort of been the problem. But I think the best version of Kuminga is a lot like Julius Randle.
Has he ever said that?
Yes.
Has that come? Because if that's come out of his mouth, that's a failed drug test. He should be banned from the NBA.
He said it to me in Miami once.
He did. You should have reported it, Wes, because we could have
I wrote it for the San Jose Mercury News. You could go check it out. I think it's going into his second season. Wes Goldberg is the byline. I don't think he said he would be the next Kobe Bryant. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he does. Like that's the tape that he cues up. Like, he's always looking for Kobe spots, and he told me a story once. He actually pointed to the spot on the floor. He's like, there was a Kobe Bryant turnaround fadeaway jumper that I wanted to hit, and I did it right there on that spot on the court the last time we played the Heat. So I think it was going into his second year. That's right.
Where was the spot?
Kobe spot, left block, just yeah. So yeah, I just interesting. He should be queuing up. My point is queuing up film of Julius Randle. We'll see if it works out for Minnesota. I don't know. Specifically though, Haize, what you mentioned, the bet on himself picking this. I think you're exactly right. Like, this is it, dude. Like, you're out, and now you're out here publicly saying it. We picked this because it was the right fit. We turned down $12 million with the Lakers because we thought this was a better fit. What do you think of that decision? Like, because there was an opportunity there with the Lakers to play off of Luka, get fed easy baskets, play in Los Angeles, play for Kobe's team, and he chose this Minnesota situation instead. I don't know that it's the wrong one, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if it works out, then great. Like, if it works out, he's going to be on a team that's going to get a lot of exposure, is going to have a lot of eyes. It should be, even, they may be taking a step back, should be still a really good team in the West and that wants to be a championship contender. So, like, from those aspects, like, if it works out and you play good on this team, then great. You bet on yourself and it finally worked. But like I said, if it does not, that's it. Like, he's going to pick up his player option in the second year, and then when he becomes a free agent in 2 years, it's vet minimum from there probably, buddy.
I don't know if there's a better or worse LA versus Minnesota. I just don't know if there's I think Redick probably would have wanted. I will say this: it feels very much to me like Redick would have been like, "Yeah, let's get Kuminga. Yeah, this can work." And then he would have spent 2 weeks with him and been like, "Yeah, no, he's not in the rotation," because that's basically what has happened everywhere.
Right.
I'm not going to let this point go. Steve Kerr and Quinn Snyder, two very good coaches, have both been like, "I'm good, thanks." That to me is like. And I'll just Chris Finch, not the most amicable coach that you're going to find. Like, he's very much a no BS guy. He is not a hold your hand and love you up kind of guy.
Yeah, in the reporting around this, Tim Connolly apparently went down to Miami where Kuminga spends his off seasons and met with him for 4 hours. Yeah. Essentially trying to convince him to come to Minnesota. And I do think that Chris Finch was at least part of those conversations, according to Anthony Slater's report over at ESPN. Also held productive conversations with Coach Chris Finch, according to league sources.
But how much of that is because what they already came out and said that they wanted to add another forward. He was the best option out there. So
I think that's exactly to Matt's point. Like, they didn't have a power forward, now they have one. It is an upgrade. I actually like all of this said. I like Minnesota better now than I did before they signed Kuminga.
Yeah, it's like, I will just kind of wonder If things are awkward, if things are tense, you'll know it will not take long to figure it out. If Kuminga is just like absolutely tunnel vision driving, and Ant and LaMelo are over there like, what are you doing? What you doing? I think that's going to be a problem. We'll see about the Gobert fit. Like, there's just a lot of ways this goes badly, but it was a necessary upgrade for them.
We're going to jump into the rotation lab next and talk about the Toronto Raptors and how Scottie Barnes and Kawhi Leonard, as long as that trade goes through, can coexist. We're going to talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed Sponsored Jobs. When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location, so less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the perfect fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. In the NBA, teams spend the offseason hoping to make that one addition that can have that ripple effect on everybody around them. Teams know that the right hire can make all of the difference, and the same applies to your business. When you find somebody who brings the right skills, attitude, and experience, it makes the entire group better. Tools like Indeed Sponsored Jobs can help make that process easier. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing the candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On NBA. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, the best way to support the show. Subscribe on YouTube. We are Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's jump back into the rotation lab here in our second segment. We're going to take one team and build out its opening night rotation. And today, we're going to talk about the Toronto Raptors. We'll get to the Utah Jazz in the next segment. Quick offseason recap on Toronto. They lost Mamu, Magbo, and Garrett Temple. They added Kyle Anderson, Andre Jackson Jr. The big one, though, still pending, the trade for Kawhi Leonard that would send Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick out and bring Kawhi in. That is still being held up, but both teams are operating right now as if that trade is going to go through. So, Haize, assuming the Kawhi Leonard trade does go through, what is the starting five for Toronto on opening night?
Quickly, Barrett, Leonard, Barnes, Jakob Poeltl.
You think Yak still starts over CMB?
I think so. I mean, because you still need some, like, starting CMB it'll just be too small. I think that Jakob still start, at least at the start of the season, because they're going to try to trade him.
Yeah, opening night, he's probably starting, but maybe by the end of the season, CMB's starting there. Matt, where's the bench at?
Awesome. Jamal Shed, Jacoby Walter. 3, you've got Allen Graves, rookie, Jamison Battle, who I really like. I thought, and he had some like quiet moments in the playoffs that I actually really liked. Power forward, if Pirtle's starting, is obviously Colin Murray Boyles will come off the bench at power forward or center, combo 4-5. Maybe Kyle Anderson at the 4, CMB at the 5. Trace Jackson Davis, they got from the Warriors last year, he'll fill in some minutes. A little bit light at center, I will say that. Like, it's Pirtle and CMB, and that's pretty much it. But that's probably enough to get them through 48 minutes. They'll have to go to some small ball lineups, but the good news is, like, Barnes is going to play 30 to 40 minutes, somewhere in that range at power forward. So they're pretty good there. They can kind of flex in and out.
With Kawhi, they could play Barnes at the 5, Kawhi at the 4 if they really want to go super small.
Yeah, you can do that
for some
too.
Possessions.
I love the idea. Look, they're going to get to these lineups that are going to be Shed, Walter, who had one of the biggest jumps, by the way, in true shooting percentage last year. Like, Jacoby Walter's good. Shed, Walter, Kawhi, CMB with anyone you want at 5, or throw in another guard, and they're just gonna, I mean, those lineups defensively are gonna be just terrifying. You can also do, I really like a Shed, Barrett, Walter, Kawhi, CMB, switch all 5. Like, I think that's a great lineup.
This group has a lot of guys that aren't big names, but For sickos like us, we're like, oh, I really like that guy. To me, it's Jacoby Walter. I liked him in the draft. And I
Love
was really
Jacoby
disappointed with the rookie season, and I love the bounce back that Matt was talking about. Who's your guy? Is it Walter? Is it somebody else? Like, who's your guy that nobody talks about on this team?
I love Allen Graves.
Yeah, you've been big on Graves.
Yeah, I've been big on Graves for a while. I think Graves is going to make a real big impact on this team. I like Graves. I know that he's a rookie and all that, but like I think Allen Graves is going to have a chance to have a real impact on this team.
Call him barely legal because nobody likes 18-year-olds better than Haize.
That's weird to say with the EDP 445 documentary out there. We'll leave that alone.
Mine's Jamal Shed. I love the way that guy defends. He's such a dog, man. His ability to get over screens and disrupt stuff and pick and roll is awesome. He's so steady. He needs to improve the shooting, but God, I love Jamal Shed's defense. Quickly's kind of like the odd man out here, but there's a lot of numbers that kind of say that Quickly's still pretty good. But it is kind of interesting to look at. One of the things, the reasons I'm so high on Toronto and like I bet them to win the division is like, I just think that they have so much lineup flexibility where they can put so many good 5-man lineups where it's like just
and really good defense from top to bottom too.
You get rid of Ingram, and everything gets better.
Where's the hole on this roster still, though, Matt? I mean, you mentioned some of those lineups that you like. Is there a hole?
I mean, it's center. Like
Pirtle
is a. Look, Yak's been dealing with a back issue that's been really serious for him, and it's very hard to play basketball when your back is messed up. Like that's not something that you can just kind of work through. It's not even like knee pain. I don't think it's as bad as back pain.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets enough treatment or rest and his back feels better and Yak gets back to just being like average replacement level, then I think that they're fine. Like you can throw Kawhi out there in an emergency 5 if you need to. He's not going to like it and he won't do it for long stretches, but it's possible, right? But I do think that spot is the weakest of all of them. That I think their wings can kind of trade in and out, and you can go 3 guard to get around. Like Barrett can play 3, that's fine. You can do this, I think, pretty consistently. Barnes' flexibility means you can do a lot, but center is the one spot where I am kind of like they could use one more guy.
Haize, you agree?
No, I agree with that. It has to be the center position. Like I said, like Kyler Murray-Boyles is I think will be fine defender. Most centers, like there are going to be some that just are longer and bigger than him. They may give him some trouble. Like so, if Yak does go down or something, you have to end up starting CMB at center. Like defensively, you'll be fine, but I just worry about the rebounding and the other side of that. So that's the spot that they can't weather. I think multiple injuries or any type of storm there.
I'm going to point to a different spot. Is this a team that eventually is going to have to make an upgrade at point guard?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I like Emmanuel Quickly just fine, but if this team is going to kind of make the move that they want to make, I just wonder if that's the upgrade spot ultimately, where it's like, look, we kind of just need a different kind of player, maybe a little bit of a better player there. Was really good when he got traded from the Knicks and has kind of plateaued since then. Obviously, injuries have been a concern there.
I just think the bar is too high there, though. Like to find a better point guard that's available for what they have to trade for Quickly is pretty tough. Like, yeah, if you swapped out Quickly for Drew Holiday, oh my God, right? That's great.
They have assets.
It's tough. I think it's a little bit tough to get the Blazers to bite on Quickly and whatever else for that. Like, what else?
That
do you
specific
give up?
trade.
Do you give up Quickly and Barrett? Because now all of a sudden you lose Barrett, and I'm like, you're losing too much offense. Even though Barrett couldn't shoot from 3 last year, he's just so like. Barrett is such a complimentary offensive player that it's very tough to get rid of him. I also just like, again, I'll just say if Jamal Shed's shot comes around, that guy's gonna be good.
Mm-hmm. So. Haize, I teased it, so I think we should talk about it. The Kawhi Leonard plus Scottie Barnes duo specifically. Barnes, as we saw in the playoffs last year, has really taken that next step with the ball in his hands. He's really kind of the point guard of that offense anyway. But with Kawhi, he's going to need the ball, obviously. Now he gets it a little bit different, right? You feed him in the post and he kind of goes to work. But how do you see those two working? Defensively, I don't think there's any concerns. But offensively, are there any concerns?
I mean, offensively, it may be some of that your turn, my turn stuff. There's a bit of a concern there because of the way that Scottie Barnes has developed. And do you want to take him off that trajectory to put the ball in Kawhi's hands? But you brought in Kawhi for a reason. It seems like everybody's bought in and they want Kawhi there. They know what that does for their ceiling. So they'll have to figure it out. I mean, we've seen players, ball-dominant players figure it out before too. So I think they'll figure it out. It may be a little, like I said, my turn, your turn, and some growing pains early on. But by the end of the season, I think they'll figure out their balance there.
Kawhi's always kind of like his own ecosystem. Like he just kind of
Yeah.
tacks on to the side of these teams where it's like you just kind of put him, and he will run screen and roll, but it's mostly to get him to create separation for a pull up, right? But so like I think it's pretty easy with that. Is you run the rest of your offense with Barnes, Kawhi's spacing provides you gravity help to be able to get downhill. I think Barrett. I really do think they watched Barrett in the playoffs and were like, oh, RJ's like a guy. Oh, I think that their attitude on RJ kind of changed after the playoff series, which it should have. He was great in that series. The other thing I would say is you have if they do run stuff with Barnes and Kawhi together, that interplay, if they run ghost screens with those two, I don't know what you do. Like, I really don't know what you do. If Barnes comes up and sets a screen and slips, what do you do there? How do you counter this? Because if Kawhi just throws that ball over the top, especially if CMB is spacing out, now all of a sudden you've got Barnes getting downhill for a dunk. Okay, so you back off and you go under. Well, now Kawhi Leonard's open. Like the interchangeability of those two together, size combined with their ball handling, makes them a really exciting pair if they run a lot of stuff together, which I don't know if they will.
Right, that's the thing. Like, does Kawhi buy into that? Because Barnes, that's what he's going to want to do. But if you put a small on either Barnes or Kawhi, then they can go into that two-man action, and then it's barbecue chicken after that, right? Like, when they can just go to work. That your turn, my turn thing tends to get a bad rap. That actually worked for the Clippers.
Works.
Yeah, right? With Kawhi and Harden, it was like Harden pick and roll, next possession, Kawhi post up, next possession, Harden pick and roll, next possession, Kawhi. And they're both so efficient at it, it's like, hey, good luck trying to figure that one out. Barnes obviously isn't Harden when it comes to pick and roll, but he's got his strengths, and then Kawhi obviously has his strengths, especially offensively. So, I think we're all pretty bullish on this Toronto Raptors team. We're going to take a closer look at the Utah Jazz next, a team that a lot of people think could make a leap, but is there a roster flaw that can hold them back? Welcome back. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily part of your daily routine and making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen every day. Check out Locked On Timberwolves for more on the Jonathan Kuminga move. Let's talk about the Utah Jazz offseason summary. They lose Walker Kessler in that trade with the Lakers. Kevin Love is still a free agent. They added Darryn Peterson at the top of the draft. They also brought in Jackson Hayes and Josh Okogie for some of the bench. They also re-signed Jusuf Nurkic. Matt, what's the starting five in Utah on opening night?
All right, this is interesting. Keyonte George, Darryn Peterson, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jusuf Nurkic. I don't know if it's going to be that or if it's going to be Keyonte, Peterson, Ace Bailey, Lauri at the 4, Jackson at the 5. It's basically, do you want more offense and no rebounding, or do you want rebounding and rim protection but less offense?
Hayes, which way would you go?
I'm starting Nurkic. I think it just makes the lineup a little bit more like I try not to play players in positions that they don't want to play. Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't want to play center, so like I wouldn't want to put him there unless you absolutely needed to. And you have Nurkic on it; he's a perfectly serviceable center, so I think you're fine there.
I actually think Jaren wants to play center. He just sucks at it. He just doesn't rebound. Like, Jaren's great as a small ball 5. He's awesome. You can switch with him, and he will absolutely lock up dudes on the perimeter. He's what people think Anthony Davis is defensively. He's awesome. Can't rebound.
Yeah,
just can't do it.
And it's not like Markkanen is out here grabbing a bunch of boards either, so
Yeah.
you're a little depleted there. Look, I think opening night, I think the Nurkic version is going to be the starting 5. I do wonder if they're sort of destined to start Jackson and Markkanen in the front court with George, Peterson, and Bailey on the perimeter, because as we see, when things kind of bog down for teams, they do tend to veer towards offense and spacing, right? That tends to be the solution in today's NBA. So I kind of wonder if that's sort of the destiny for them. But I do think opening night, they'll at least start with Nurkic. But you can argue their best 5 is the other version, right? If they just want to put your best 5 players out there.
I just want to throw this out there that
Please.
I don't think it's absolutely outside. I don't think it's crazy to suggest that Filipowski might start
Over Nurkic.
Yeah. He gives you a spacer. Like, he shot 33% from 3 last season, but that, like, you have to give everybody on these teams a bump that were on these tank teams, because it was like, I watched Kyle Filipowski in games take crossover, pull up, step back threes when there was like a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, and you could tell that there was a reason that he was going to that shot. Like if you improve with more intent, being a serious team, better spacing, and more opportunities, I think he can shoot pretty consistently. Averaged 7 rebounds a game last season. That's honestly probably enough to be able to. That's probably all you need, because like Jaren's not a 0 on rebounding. He's just not a double-digit rebounder. But if you get 7 from Jaren and you get 7 from your center, that's 14, and that's probably enough in terms of percentage of misses to get by. I actually don't mind Filipowski. I'm not like Nurk has turned into a pretty good vet after being a real pain in the backside early in his career, but I do think that there's a chance Filipowski starts.
Hayes, we're kind of talking about something specific without really talking about it. They lose Walker Kessler. The vision was Kessler, Jackson, Markkanen. And then those negotiations got hairy, and now Walker Kessler is playing for the Lakers. And think whatever you want about that trade. They got a bunch from the Lakers in that trade. The Lakers are paying Walker Kessler a bunch of money. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is that there is a Walker Kessler-sized hole right now in that front court. I don't know. The more when we go through these rotation labs, it's really interesting to put these teams on paper. I would have felt so much better about this team had they still had Kessler, Hayes.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. They still had Kessler, changes a lot, but I do think they have a trade chip. And I think even in us talking about it, we kind of overlooked it. Don't overlook them using Bryce Sensabaugh to get a center at some point. Bryce Sensabaugh is really good. I think he's a really, really good player. He's headed to restricted free agency and may not be able to pay him with George, Peterson, Collier, Bailey, all these guys on the team. And if not, they should look to move him at the trade deadline and try to get a big using Bryce Sensabaugh.
I actually, what they really should have done is they should have gone back to the Warriors and been like, you missed on Giannis. You have no other options.
You finally went Lauri
Markkanen from Moses Moody and an assortment of picks, and then throw in whatever you want. If you got to make it work with the money to throw in Jimmy Butler, okay, we'll buy him out. Fine. But like if they had done that deal and kept Kessler, I would like this team a lot more. And it's not that I'm anti-Lauri. I just am very much of the opinion of just like, no. Like that's how much I want Kessler. I wanted Kessler next to Jaren. And I'm also just like, I don't know that you need buckets when you have Ace Bailey and Darryn Peterson coming in. I just don't know if especially with Keyonte, I just don't know if you need it.
Yeah. Let's also keep in mind too that the Kessler trade, they ended up getting a $16 million trade exception that they're going to be able to use to potentially absorb a player. So if one of these centers ends up squeaking free here closer to the trade deadline, maybe there's a move to be made over there as well. Are we sure? Last thing here, I guess. Are we sure that Darryn Peterson starts over Ace Bailey if we're doing that starting 5 with Nurkic?
Yeah.
I want to see the camp battle. Like one of the things I'll be keeping an eye on this season is I'll be looking at the plus minus splits of Darryn by himself without Ace without Darryn, and then Darryn and Ace together. I want to see how those combos work, because Ace really impressed me down the stretch. Like I thought he really took a lot of leaps. We didn't really do the rotation here, Wes. Like we should talk about the bench a little bit. Like
we didn't talk about the bench at all.
Like Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, sorry. Conchar, Okogie they added, really solid vet. They're stacked at 2-3. Cody Williams, who one game will look like a god and the next be the worst player you've ever seen. I have no understanding of what Cody Williams is. Svi is still on this team. He's a plus minus demon. And they added Jackson Hayes for center depth, and Mo Bamba hanging around there as well. Like Blake Hinson, by the way, another like high impact guy that I was really like. They got a lot of good guys to stack on this team.
Is Bryce Sensabaugh just AJ Mitchell with worse PR?
Ooh,
that's a great comp.
Could be. I mean, honestly, he's been on a tanky team. If Bryce Sensabaugh had been on a winning team the last 2 years, people talk about him completely different.
All these teams like pining after AJ Mitchell, they just go.
I've been pushing for the Bulls to make a move for Bryce Sensabaugh for like a year. So
let's make it happen. If you like what you heard today, subscribe on Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Hayes for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen every day. We'll see you back here on Friday for more Locked On NBA Daily.